Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to a brand new video here today, and welcome finally back to another F1 2020 game experiment. And today, as you can see by the title and thumbnail, we are maxing out a Mercedes car in the normal driver career mode in F1 2020. So far on F1 2020, we have maxed out the My Team car, and we've seen in the hands of the right AI, you can go below 60 seconds at the Austrian Grand Prix in the My Team car. We've also maxed out the Williams car, and we kind of were able to compare how that was to drive versus the My Team one. And I'm very curious to see, one, how high the Mercedes car maxes out to. Does it max out near to the My Team car, or is it less or more? As we saw in F1 2019, there was a lot of variables between the kind of top teams. And then also, how does the car actually handle? Because the Mercedes car is obviously the best car in the game to start off with. So I think really this car, even if it doesn't max out higher than the My Team car, it's probably going to feel so much better because it's come from a better start, if you know what I mean. But that's obviously part and parcel of the answers we're trying to understand with this experiment by giving ourselves over 1 million R&D points in the driver career to try and obtain a maxed out Mercedes car. And it's been a really long time since we did the last maxed out video with the Williams car, so be sure to smash the like button if you're really excited to finally see some more videos like this, and we'll be hoping to do a few more of these this month. The reason why it's taken so long, I'm gonna be honest, is because the game mechanics this year are very difficult to actually make this video easy to record. So I'll explain what that means in a bit, essentially, as we go on through the process. So we're going to start off our career mode save, obviously, with Mercedes. I'm going to choose my teammate to be Valtteri Bottas, not Lewis Hamilton, because I want to make sure contractually and team-wise we don't have as much pressure on ourselves. And so with a driver like Hamilton, we'll have more pressure to perform, I feel, compared to Bottas. So we're going to choose Valtteri Bottas, and hopefully that'll keep the pressure off. Now, the reason why that is because I actually tried to record this video about 2 months ago or so, and I got so fed up trying to record it because I wasted about 2 to 3 hours of my life trying to sim through and upgrade the car with 1 million R&D points. But in that attempt, I was simply simulating every single quali session, every single race, i.e. I was qualifying last because there's no way to actually simulate qualifying. You just have to skip it, and then you simulate the race. But even though every simulation I was going from last place on the grid to at least second place, finishing behind Hamilton at the time, Mercedes and the game mechanics, the way it works, just thought, no, that's not good enough, and it fired me. It fired me before I could achieve a maxed out Mercedes car, and that really did irk me after 2 hours or more, basically down the drain, because I didn't save the career mode save, and also I got fired. So this time, I'm going to be saving my game files pretty much after every single race in the background, and also I'm going to be doing like every other qualifying session to actually qualify on pole, and every other race as well, you know, 5 laps, doing the 5 laps, because that's essentially the only way I can guarantee that I won't get fired whilst trying to achieve a maxed out car. So if you're wondering why we did the My Team car maxed out, then the Williams, and then there's been nothing since, this is why, basically. But this month, you know, I thought, you know, let's try and get some done. I'm going to put in the time and the effort, you know, to spend those, you know, 3+ hours to get this done off camera, and obviously edit it down to a shorter video for you guys, and we're going to get it out, because this always seems to be a very interesting video for everyone to see, because you very rarely get to see what every single car gets maxed out to, especially the top cars, Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari. I'm also thinking of maybe it's going to be quite interesting to see what the Racing Point might max out to, and also even maybe McLaren or Renault, since they're in a very tough midfield fight, and also in the future they'll be hoping to maybe become top team. So let me know in the comments below what team you might want to see me do next in terms of maxing out. Now, even though this was quite a difficult task in terms of not getting fired from Mercedes, this is actually probably one of the easiest teams to do to max out in this year's game, because if you remember, now we have this situation where in the driver career mode, you do not manage your facilities, you do not manage, you know, your upgrades for, you know, level 3 on the aerodynamics or the engine or whatnot. The AI does that. So Mercedes, they start off with level 3 and everything. So you can just upgrade all the way to the end of the tree. You don't need to actually wait for the AI to buy some HQ facility upgrades. So actually, when we move to other teams like Red Bull, Ferrari, Racing, especially the midfield teams, Racing Point, McLaren, Renault, they're going to be actually the biggest pain in the arses to potentially try and max out, because it's just going to be waiting for the random number generation of the AI, my AI, employer, to upgrade the HQ facilities. So, yeah, as I say, I said just then, if you guys want to see maybe those midfield teams later on, that could be quite nice. But I say that tentatively. Don't get your hopes up. I definitely think we can maybe hopefully do Mercedes, obviously, today, Ferrari, Red Bull in the future. The midfield teams, they honestly, they may not even be possible, because I've tested this before in just like random other saves, and sometimes, and as you guys actually saw in the Williams video when we maxed out the Williams car, sometimes the AI team just doesn't bother to upgrade their HQ facilities for like a whole season or more. So it's yeah, very frustrating on this year's game compared to F1 2019 that you just can't do it yourself, which obviously makes sense because the driver career is very different from my team now, so they've taken away that HQ facility upgrade ability. But it does make my life difficult when you're trying to do an experimental video like this. But anyways, let's get into the whole process of maxing out this Mercedes car, shall we? Apologies for the mini rant at the start of this video, but it has been very frustrating not being able to actually do these videos like we did last year, just because the game mechanics are so broken and frustrating this year to actually make them possible. But we move forward, then we fast forward all the way to the Dutch Grand Prix, so round number 3 or 4, isn't it? Yeah, round 4. And you saw there, ridiculous how many upgrades we've actually got. And as I said, because the Mercedes team already has HQ facilities level 3 and everything, the entire tree is available to us. So we just keep on going and upgrading as much as we can. So already by round 4, I can see the end of the Mercedes R&D trees. Round 4, and I can see the end of the tree, which just shows there's actually, shows two things. One, how good Mercedes already are on the base game compared to the, theoretical max any of these F1 cars can become in this game. And 2, how harsh the kind of diminished returns is on this year's game with Mercedes, the top team. They've got so much less to actually grow, and the further you go into it, the less you really make an impact compared to my team, where the my team car kept on having so many other upgrades to do. So, it's kind of, two ways. You say that, but then also, if you look at the R&D chart here, I mean, look how quickly we're upgrading because we are Mercedes. So, there may be a quicker bottleneck with this car, but the start of it is so much quicker. Like, even with the my team car and the Williams car, remember, we had to wait, a season to get to max car in the case of the Williams team, because my team just didn't want to upgrade the facilities at Williams. And then with the my team car, it was a little bit quicker, obviously, but it wasn't as quick as this. This was actually rapid because we didn't have to wait for HQ facilities to come in. They're already made. So we just carry on buying upgrades, basically. It's quite a simple actual process compared to what it was with the Williams and my team cars, because it's just buying the upgrades and then just waiting. So we're here at the Spanish Grand Prix. Again, you can see a bit of a slowness on the progress because a few of my upgrades were failing on the R&D tree. So that was also another thing to kind of balance through with maxing the car out, is that you kind of, I just went for rushing the upgrades, but even with the maxed out facilities, there's still like a 45 or 35% chance of upgrades failing, even when you rush it and you've got everything maxed out on the HQs. So there were probably, I would say, every 5 upgrades were failing and having to redo them. So there was a little bit of a bump in the road from the Dutch GP to the Spanish one, but you can see the trajectory is just so exponential in comparison to what just looks like pretty much a plateau for the rest of the teams. And at this point at Spain, I am nearly about a field spread from Red Bull down to Williams. That distance, I'm that field spread ahead of Red Bull. So already our car's ridiculous, but we're not quite there yet. We're about 2 layers away from maxing out the car. But you can see I'm buying now those final ultimate upgrades on the chassis, the engine, the aero, and they're all just lined up now on the left-hand side, on the activity timeline on the left-hand side in between Grand Prix. So it's just a waiting game. Even with rushing those upgrades, the ultimate upgrades take a while, and then of course a few of them were failing as well. So when that happens, it still takes a lot of time, because then you have to do a standard procedure of waiting for the ultimate upgrade. But at the same time, as I said, whilst this was happening, I was making sure I wasn't getting fired. So you haven't seen much of the footage at all, because there's no point showing you, because it's just me driving around and getting first place. But every other race, and here at Monaco, I had to do it where I just had to drive the 5 laps and just quickly do the 5-lap race, come in first place, just to make sure that I'm getting every other race's first first, second, and actually doing the qualifying every time to make sure I get pole, just so we don't get fired, because I just had PTSD from like 2 months ago that, you know, it's going to happen again just before we get to max out car, get fired, and then there's no easy way to actually get back in the Mercedes car there. So first place at Monaco, Bottas second, not surprised. I mean, I was finishing like, you know, 10 seconds ahead of Bottas, and then Bottas was finishing like 30 seconds ahead of Verstappen, the next best car, which is pretty much you know, we joke about Formula A and Formula B. This is very much Mercedes Formula A, and they're like Formula C at this point in terms of the difference and the gulf we have. But eventually we come through towards the French Grand Prix, and we have maxed out this car. Now, we're not going to actually do the testing at France, because I think it's quite fitting that the very next one is Austria. So we may as well go back to Austria, have a little cheeky qualifying session, see how close we can get to under 60 seconds, and then also see how we do in a race. But we have now maxed out the Mercedes car. There you can see the left, the right, and the bottom. Obviously, the reliability is not maxed out, but that does not count as performance, and it doesn't show up on the R&D graph, the line graph. It doesn't actually show up. I've tested it. It shows up on the bar, but it doesn't show up on the actual graph itself. So the graph is accurate. This is a maxed out Mercedes. So very, very quick. The growth was obviously the quickest from China to Spain, you can see, with the way the graph is, because those upgrades were all the minor ones and the majors, or getting to a few majors. And then the kind of long waiting period for the ultimate upgrades, a few failing as well, leads to the kind of more curved line upwards towards that final max position. But if we compare the two graphs, Mercedes to my team, Mercedes to my team, you can see very subtly the my team car maxes out that little bit higher than the Mercedes team. And if you look back and compare that to the Williams car, that maxed out at 900 on the performance index. The my team car did about, you know, I would say ballpark like 1090, I think it is. And then Mercedes, I would say it kind of looks like 1050, so 40% performance index points behind the my team car, but that's still comfortably ahead of the Williams. So the Williams really, as a team, really have been nerfed in terms of, compared to F1 2019, where most of the cars were maxing out within like 50 points of each other. On this year's game, they've really made an effort to actually have a bit of a feel spread between the maxed out cars, which is, I guess, in a way, a bit of a shame as well, though, because you could never then see a Williams car beating the others if everyone got maxed out. And let's be real, the only point you'd see those cars naturally occurring and naturally maxing out in a normal career mode is if everyone's starting to max out, because there's been a lack of a regulation change in the career mode, and then there's been no R&D reset. So, yeah, definitely the smaller teams have been hit hardest this year with the maxed out teams. But now it's time to take this maxed out Mercedes car out onto an actual circuit and see how it drives. Now we're here at Austria. Of course, we did the Austria test with the my team car. Hamilton's AI was able to get under 60 seconds. I even recently got under 60 seconds in my actual career mode series itself. But what could the Mercedes car do? Now, this is Q3. So far, the closest I've got is a 1 minute and 5 tenths. So we've got within 5 tenths of 60 seconds in this Mercedes in Q2 and Q1. So let's see how we do in Q3. It's been a pretty tidy lap. A little bit of extension here and there, I can't lie, into turn 1 that was. And also in some of these curbs, just taking a lot of liberty here. But in terms of the feeling about to drive, because you guys may be interested to know that, obviously, as I spoke about the whole difference of the Williams car, even though it was maxed out, it still felt pretty bad compared to the my team car. Obviously, it was quite some way behind in terms of the performance index. The Mercedes car is a lot closer now to the my team in terms of on-paper performance. Feeling-wise, as I thought, like my hypothesis was that this car would feel better, and it does. The car is slower than the my team maxed out car, performance-wise on paper, and also you're about to see I can't get any closer than 60 seconds plus 5 tenths here around Austria. Bottas can't even do that as well. My teammate, he's only 1 tenth quicker. I don't know if Hamilton's AI could have done better. Maybe he could have by about 2 tenths. But I definitely think, you know, even in practice, the Mercedes maxed out car is not as quick as the my team one. In terms of feeling, though, it did feel better. It felt better. And that's because, as I said, my theory is because we're starting with a much better car. Like, think about how low the my team car can start off with when you start your career mode compared to where Mercedes are. Just because of that, because the base car is much better, the maxed out car version feels better. It feels so much more planted. Like, I felt so secure on the rear end, slamming down the throttle at points where maybe with the My Team car, I would have been a little bit tentative. I was still maybe wringing the neck out of it, you know, really trying to strangle it through the corners. Whereas with the Mercedes one, there was so much grip, so much confidence there, even though maybe in practice the lap time wasn't as quick as the My Team one. So we've seen it over one lap. We couldn't quite get 60 seconds, but now let's see how this car performs in a race scenario and see, you know, is it easy to overtake? Is it going to be any different? Is it going to perform slightly different to the Williams, which was quite tough to manage, really, to be honest, even though it was maxed out. And then the My Team one, I actually, if you remember, I found it quite difficult to match my teammate, and actually it was quite difficult to still get some moves done around Hungary in the My Team car when we tried it in a race. So I'm curious to see how it's going to be here on Austria. So we're going to jump into it then as we go to 5 red lights for a 5-lap race around Austria, and we got all 5 laps, so no cuts, and let's just see how this race goes. So off the start, nothing crazy there in terms of jumping the Williams cars using the ERS into turn 1, though just the nature of the circuit boxes in. It's going to be very, you know, anytime we do any of these tests, it's going to be very, you know, track dependent of how much, you know, how quickly you can get through, because Austria, like Hungary, there are a few areas where it's quite tight and difficult to make a pass. Like here, we go down the inside of, like, you know, 4 cars, but I'm forced to then let go of the throttle and I have to actually go over the curb, go 3 wide with the 2 Alfa Romeos, I think, or one of the Alfa Romeos and the Alfa Tauri of Kvyat and Giovinazzi. That was Ocon in the mix, but now look at the speed here, trying to force some space on the outside, and we go the long way around. It's a triple overtake there on Ocon, Giovinazzi, and then trying to get Kvyat, and this is usually a corner where the AI do me absolutely every time on traction, but this time with a maxed out car compared to the kind of normal sort of career cars, we're able to get Kvyat, and then, I mean, look at that move on Grosjean. That was so easy. Like, that is a very unorthodox place to make a pass. You don't really make a pass like that ever in real life, in the game, even in the game. Like, it's very difficult. But with the amount of downforce we have now, it's so easy to just dance around the outside. And so I gotta say, at the moment, it's about the same difficulty. I would say the AI putting them a fight, you know, just kind of shows, maybe goes to show how good the AI are now on this year's game. You know, they get better and better every year, and so even with a max car, there's, you know, like this, Gasly dive bombs me. Like, I don't think that would have happened on last year's game, let alone previous games, because now on this year and going forwards, the AI are really getting to a point where, you know, if they feel like they've got the space, they'll go for it. So in terms of the racing wheel-to-wheel experience, it's very similar to the My Team maxed car. Definitely better than the Williams one, of course, as it would be, because the actual on-paper index performance is better. But as I said, the entire time, the feeling is so planted. Like, it is like a car on rails, like, completely. Like here with Norris, dive down the inside, bit of contact with Norris, but the confidence I had of, even if we made contact, I wasn't going to get destabilized. Like, I hit Norris's right-hand side of the tire. That may usually destabilize the car, you know, a bit of a rear end step out, but because we've got so much downforce now and it feels so grippy, I just got the confidence to do that. Here, Vettel, I mean, that's just a little bit of poor decision-making from me to go right rather than left. But we dive down inside of Vettel and Sainz now. Easy does it, but rotate the car so supremely in second gear. And we're up into P7 now by lap number 3. So, I would say slower progress than I was maybe thinking. I would maybe make Austria, but I think a lot of it is just due to my decision-making here. It's been a bit questionable at times. And also the AI have been quite punchy in terms of their defensive driving, but you can clearly see it's just a waiting game. And then again, we're going to try here with Leclerc around the outside. I got a tire on the grass there, so that time offset it a little bit, but then just deploying ERS, and then look at the closing speed here down the inside like we did with Norris. Easy does it, down 2 gears, plant the power midway through the corner. Same thing for the last corner, plant the power, get the drive, good exit, DRS open, ERS deploying, and we're going to fly past Sergio Perez now, round the outside, up into P5, and now we're on the back of Alexander Albon, and hopefully it's going to be an easy pass, no issues. Obviously, we know a Mercedes and Albon at Austria is a little bit tetchy, now it's a tetchy again, because I try to squeeze Albon out there, and I try to also go down to lean mixture, because I wanted to kind of show you guys just how quick the car is without even DRS or like ERS or deploying, just like with the fuel mixture. So that's what I'm going to do. I think we're going to plan that move on Verstappen, is basically once I get to Verstappen by about turn 1 of lap number 5, I'm just going to kind of test how good the car is just without even ERS or DRS. But we're going to go around the outside now of Stroll. Little bit of a side pod stickiness there on the left front, so we have to jockey for position a bit. We're up into P3 now, and here we go. We're up into, well, one last position to go is Verstappen. So as I said, on purpose, I'm going to let off the throttle, and I'm going to basically test how quick this car is, just with fuel. Just fuel, no DRS, no ERS. Here we go. Just even keeping a lean mixture, not even using fuel. This is how quick the car is. Like, we're able to close up and overtake Verstappen like we have DRS and like we're deploying ERS when we're not even doing any of that and we're in lean mixture. Like, that's how quick the car is. And off the exit, look at the traction we get without anything. Just a bit of rich mix at the end, and we're able to pull away like at least a good, 3/10 to Verstappen. So supreme traction, supreme speed in a straight line. And it does feel very, very good, as you would imagine. But as I said, if you had to press me on the matter, which one I prefer to drive, honestly, I would actually prefer to drive this maxed out Mercedes, but knowing that the My Team car can achieve a higher lap time, obviously you'd always go for the My Team car. But as a driving experience, if you ever wondered, the Mercedes feels the best so far. Obviously, I'm yet to, try the Ferrari, yet to try the Red Bull, yet to try Racing Point or whatever. So those are experiments in the future to try and to see if any of those feel any better than this Mercedes, if they even indeed max out any higher than Mercedes. Because last year, I think the Racing Point and the Red Bull both maxed out higher than the Mercedes car. So it's definitely something we have to look into in the future, hopefully. But feeling wise, I would probably say on this year's game, especially because of real life, because in real life the Mercedes car is probably one of the best F1 cars made in history. I think in the game that reflects in how it feels, and I think honestly, unlike last year, I think the Mercedes car might feel like the best, no matter how much better the other teams max out to. But as I said, that's something to do in the future. But guys, if you did enjoy finally the maxed out Mercedes car experiment coming to the channel, then be sure to smash the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for those other experiments on the way, hopefully in the coming weeks, hopefully I would say. And hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I've been aarava. Goodbye.